Well, the coffee's not actually bigger in Texas, but it's definitely stronger.
There's the giant balls.
Today on Coffee Break Tennis, we talk about the Basel draw. Has Roger Federer been hiding another injury?
Man is born.
Whoa, yeah.
Man
Guy
lives.
Forget is already pressuring big-name players to come to Paris for the final Masters of the year.
All vanity. He tried thrills.
That's a good one.
A few of the young guns are making a name for themselves, all picking up titles this week. And also we talk a little bit about that Saudi Arabia
What are
controversy.
teenagers doing today?
How in the world did Rafa Nadal and Novak Djokovic get caught up in all that mess? All that and more today on Coffee Break Tennis. Well, we are in New Braunfels, Texas. Me and Pete, we're here for TennisCon Part 2. Make sure if you haven't got your free ticket yet, click down below in the link in the description below this video to get your free ticket. We will be doing TennisCon 2. A lot of the content is going to be right here from John Newcomb Tennis Ranch. You can already see right behind me on these beautiful courts. A lot of the guys are getting out, warming up. We're about to have some of the big names who are here this week come out. Guys like Newcomb, of course, Rod Laver, Mark Philippoussis, Wayne Ferreira. Super excited to be here. First up, let's talk about, I didn't even print it out because it just hit. I just saw the story. Of course, I always point out that Roger Federer saves the very best stuff, not for your regular media, but for the Swiss media. This was in the, I believe it was the Sonntagszeitung, which is the Sunday Times in Swiss German. It turns out Federer, for the last few months, has been dealing with a hand injury. Now, he quickly said, I don't want to blame my results on the hand injury, but why does he leak? I say leak because it feels like a leak when you don't talk to the rest of the media. Why does he leak these things to the Swiss media if he doesn't want us to know? The thing that caught me, and the reason why I'm starting off with this story, and again, I didn't even print it, it just hit a couple hours ago. I read it before I started filming. The thing that caught me is a lot of people have been telling me the forehand's a disaster. Roger's forehand is falling apart. Well, what Federer said, the main problem with the hand, he said it started in the beginning of the grass court season. The main thing it did was make it so he couldn't let loose on his forehand. A lot of people said the forehand lacks the sting. I've even heard people comment below. By the way, check in with us, comment below. Let us know if you like the show. Let us know what you think about what we're talking about today. I've heard people in the past comment below that it's because of this racket, the 97-inch racket, the switch from the 90-inch square inch racket, that the big racket was somehow making it harder for Federer to time the forehand. I don't see that. I would only say the big racket adds a little pop, just like everyone says his backhand's better because of the extra pop on the big racket.
Whoa.
So what Federer said basically was only very recently, has he been able to just let loose and hit his forehand like normal without feeling pain in the hand. When you have any kind of pain, even if it's not that bad, just something that you think about, it can hold you back in your game big time. So hey, if that's true, maybe we will find out here in Basel. Let's take a look. In my hands, I've got the draw. Put it on the screen via satellite from Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Goat. Mr. Goat is a talking tennis cat. He did not make it on the trip to New Braunfels, Texas, here to John Newcomb Tennis Ranch, but he's doing this remote satellite from Coffee Break Tennis Studios in Atlanta. First up, Roger will run into Filip Krajinovic, Serbian guy. Federer played him, I think, once earlier this year. Comment below if you remember where he played him. All I know is Federer beat him pretty easily. Jan Littert Struff, John Millman. They play in the other first round right below Federer, as you can see there. Obviously, on this court, Federer would much rather play John Millman. Jan Littert Struff has been playing a lot of doubles. Great volley. We saw him at the Australian Open give Roger a pretty tough match this year. Struff's kind of got the build of like a Tomas Berdych. So he's a big, strong guy, big ground strokes, loves coming to net, and I imagine would be pretty good on a fast court like Basel. So we'd much rather see John Millman, but we'd really rather see John Millman because of the sweet revenge. John the Milkman Millman, of course, stopped Roger Federer at the US Open. A slower hard court, a higher bounce, very humid conditions. Totally different here. We got the air conditioning. We're a real indoor court, not like in Shanghai where they get that roof open all the time. Of course, they closed it last year when Roger beat Rafa.
Straight sets.
What else we got there? Ernest Gulbis, who just lost today in a final against my pick for the future, Stefanos Tsitsipas. It looked like Gulbis had a back thing. He was towards the end of that match. He's kind of grabbing his back after he hit some returns of serves. But old Tsitsipas, man, he was just serving unbelievable lights out serving. The backhand looked great. I saw a lot of great backhands in that match. Forehand's always good from Tsitsipas. If I had to pick someone, and it's funny, I was listening to, what is it, John Wertheim's tennis podcast. Can't remember what it's called, but he was talking to Mats Wilander. And he asked, it was really funny, he asked Wilander, like, who do you think is the name for the future of these young guys? If you have to pick somebody, who's going to be next person winning a major, as we see Nadal, Federer wind down. Of course, Djokovic is still dominating, but who besides Joker can win? And Mats Wilander took a while to come up with a name. He said, like, well, it's really kind of tough to predict this. And then eventually he said, who I would have said, good old Tsitsipas. So maybe I do know a thing or two about this great sport, tennis. So Gulbis would have to come through Yak Sock. Gulbis already beat Yak Sock. In Stockholm, Gulbis already took care of Yak Sock. So we'll see. By the way, we'll take a look at the rankings maybe later if we have time, but some big names are very low in the rankings. I didn't print it, so I'll just have to say it from memory, but when I put it on the screen when I'm editing this video, you'll be able to see exactly where these big names have fallen. How far have they fallen? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Andy Murray's on there. Sorry for the 1% of tennis fans who are heartbroken over that. Tsitsipas is in below that. Stefanos Tsitsipas just won his first title. It's a big day for him. He'd have to go through Jeremy Chardy. Then he'd have to play Gojo or Nicholas Yari. Got Seppi in there, Maximilian Martyrer, Danny Medvedev. Medvedev, I hope I can find this clip. Let's roll the tape.
Hey Stefanos, you want to look at me and talk? You have some problems, you go emergency toilet for 5 minutes, urine, and then you say, then you hit let and you don't say sorry, you think you're a good kid? Look at me. Hey, look at me, huh? You don't look at me. He started it. He said bullshit Russian. You think this is normal? I answered him because he doesn't know how to fight. He's a small kid who doesn't know how to fight.
What a bullshit Russian. I first saw this and I kind of felt like this makes me think a little less of old Tsitsipas, because as you can see, Medvedev challenges him to a fight. You know, if you're going to say fighting words, old Tsitsipas, you got to actually be ready to fight. Medvedev, a Russian, always ready to fight. So we could see a quarterfinal with good old Tsitsipas versus Danny Medvedev.
Man, you better shut your up, okay?
Whoever comes through that, remember, Medvedev gave Roger a really tough first match in Shanghai. That would be our semifinal, assuming that Roger, with his brand new bionic hand, which is going to help the forehand a lot, we hope. If Roger and his brand new bionic hand can get through guys like John the Milkman Millman or Jan Leonard Struffy Struve, Gilles Simon, Leonardo Meyer. Remember, he had match points and ended up blowing it. I believe it was in Shanghai some years ago against Roger. Ernest Gulbis, Yak Sock, guys like that. Roger should be able to get through them, especially if he's got this brand new bionic hand. So we could see a Tsitsipas and Roger Federer semifinal. That's what I want to see. All year I've been saying I'd really like to see them play, because I kind of feel like Tsitsipas might be the future, especially if you want to see a guy with a one-handed backhand take over tennis in the future, give you thrills and excitement like a la Roger Federer one-handed style. I don't think it's Grigor Dimitrov. I think it's good old Tsitsipas. That's your guy. But Medvedev's good too. Medvedev. On the bottom half of the draw, no Djokovic. Everyone was a little worried that Djokovic would go and spoil the 99th title Basel party for Roger Federer. Of course, you really can't just assume Roger's going to win any tournaments the way things have gone lately. But again, if this hand injury is a real thing, maybe he could win it. So I see some names. So we got Ciccanado, Taylor Fritz's in there, Ryan Harrison, El Chapo, and Marin Cilic. Marin Cilic has been so disappointing lately. He's in a mental funk right now. Maybe he's dealing with a secret hand injury. Who knows what's going on with old Marin Cilic. Batista Agut is always a solid player on any surface. Everywhere you face him, he's just so tough. Stanislav the Manislav Wawrinka, Adrian Manarino. Manarino just lost to young Karen Khachanov in Russia. I believe that's Kachanov's first title as well. Matthew Ebden, who's got a lot of points. When I was looking at the rankings, see he could fall. He's got some points to defend. And then Sasha Zverev, who's been disappointing all year pretty much. Robin Haase. Robin Haase, pretty capable on indoor court. Comment below, who do you think comes through this bottom half? It's a little tough to pick because I never trust Zverev. I definitely don't trust Cilic the way he's been lately. And I would love to say Stan. Like, who doesn't want an all-Swiss final in the final of the Swiss Indoors tournament in Basel, Switzerland? Und die Schweiz. That's what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting to see that Tsitsipas semifinal. I'm rooting to see that John the Milkman Millman, I guess that's round of 16. Second round, though. Second match for Federer, round of 16 here in the 32-man draw. Would love to see that revenge match. Would love to see Gulbis play Roger. It's fun to have Gulbis back. Roll the clip of Gulbis's, my favorite moment of Gulbis on the ATP World Tour.
You look pretty sharp. How did he feel out on court?
I really like doing these interviews because I get my childhood dream to be a pilot. I feel like a pilot right now.
We need characters like Gulbis. Gulbis came through a lot of good players recently in Stockholm, Sweden. Beat Yak Sock, which is not the biggest thing the way Sock has been, but still, Sock beat him. Beat John Isner. That's a pretty big accomplishment. Didn't even have to go to a tiebreak. Fell short to who I think is the future, who Mats Wilander agrees with me could be the future of tennis. I think Wilander actually said maybe he'll win 4 or 5 majors, Tsitsipas. So he said not in the next few years, but eventually that'll come. I don't know. I could see Tsitsipas winning in 2 years from now, maybe. Comment below, what do you want? I'm sure a lot of you want what I want. Revenge, Jack Sock, or we'll take Gulbis. Interesting match. Gulbis is a fun player to watch. Semifinal with Tsitsipas, and a final with Stanislaw the Manislaw. Would love to see Stan the Man just destroy Sasha Zverev in the quarterfinals. That would be pretty cool. Would love to see a Shapovalov and Stan the Man semifinal. All right, let's move on. I'll keep this draw. We'll mark it up and keep our eye on it as the tournament progresses. This weird printer in a hotel was printing things sideways like this. Thought that was odd. I didn't tell it to do that. If you'll remember last year, Guy Forget complained that Roger was not going to play in Paris and never played in Paris and is already getting ready to do it again. But at least he figured out the right way to get to Roger's heart. We have a great venue, said Guy Forget, and the courts are a little bit faster now. It would be a very big opportunity for Federer to do very well. So he's trying to lure Roger in with the promise of even faster courts. It's no lie. The tour's slowing down. Everyone knows Roger Federer does better on a faster court. So that's smart on Guy Forget's part. And Roger did say he is open to going there. Now, I can guarantee you, if we see some disaster strike, Federer loses in his first match in Basel, I think the chances shoot up dramatically that he goes to Paris. We shall see what happens. Guy Forget said, I wish Paris was before Basel, as if that would change something. I think Roger's going to play the hometown tournament no matter what. But that's how the schedule is, and if Roger comes, we'd be very happy. If he doesn't come, there will be more chances for others to do well. He's not been coming to Paris for a while, and fans expect him to finally make it because we're a Masters 1000. We're twice bigger than Basel. I don't think insulting the hometown tournament is the way to go, Guy. Stick to the stuff about the faster courts. When the top guys are not playing, it affects the credibility of the event, said Guy Forget. I thought I printed it out on this. Maybe, did I do 2 sides? I did 2 sides. This is the best part of the whole article, I think. Because in my hometown in Atlanta, we have this problem with our ATP 250 tournament. Everywhere you go, you got pictures of Federer, Nadal, Djokovic. You got those pictures up. Only problem is those guys have never played, not one time, in Atlanta. We've been affected. This is Guy Forget. This is so funny. We've been affected by that in the past at Rolex Paris Masters. When we put the face of Rafa, Novak, or Roger 1 month before the tournament to promote it in the streets or on buses, we also do promotion on the radio and on newspapers. And people from France, not only in Paris, but also in Bordeaux or Marseille, say, all the top guys are in Paris. Let's book a hotel room and buy tickets. When they come and they don't see the faces that they saw in the advertising campaign, if they're injured or had surgery, cannot play, we can understand. But if a player has been successful and is not playing in Paris, he's playing the following week, people cannot understand. They are like, this is false advertisement. It's like you pay tickets to attend a Rolling Stones concert and the Rolling Stones are not there. Too good. Too funny. Flash this up on the screen if you guys care, if you guys are interested. There are a lot of big ranking drops. Again, I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I believe Andy Murray is now ranked behind Ryan Harrison's little brother, Christian Harrison. I think Andy Murray is like 250 in the world. I know he's not playing, but still, it's just so weird to see a name we've seen on the top at 250 in the world. Wilfried Tsonga, first time in, I don't know, like 10 years or something that he's outside of the top 100. But if you look, he can drop down into the low 200s as well. There was one other big name. I think Ivo Karlovic is outside the top 100. That's not too big of a deal, but, you know, sucks for him. Oh, there's Dick Stockton coming out. I think something's about to happen out here. Dick Stockton, fun fact, was the last person to beat Rod Laver at Wimbledon. I believe it was Rod Laver's final Wimbledon, and he lost to that man right there, I believe in the quarterfinals. I had this on, the young guns guys. Gulbis stuns Isner to reach his first final in 4 years. Of course, he lost today. This is the day before. And he said, quote, "I can beat anybody when I play like this." He's got a point. I think he could be a top 20 guy, top 30 guy sometime next year as long as he sticks to it and stays healthy. Again, we need personalities like Gulbis on tour. A couple more things and we'll get out of here. I thought this was interesting. Djokovic was on a podcast. I didn't recognize the guy's name. Can't remember the name, I'm sorry. But he said some stuff that I thought was interesting to hear from the soon-to-be, maybe, world number one, Novak Djokovic, who has done what Roger and Rafa haven't done in the last couple years. Djokovic has won 2 majors back-to-back. I think that's kind of important. You know, Rafa won 2. Rafa won French, no win at Wimbledon, US Open last year. Roger won Australian, didn't even play the French, Wimbledon last year. So 2, but 2 in a row is a little bit different. Just gotta give Djokovic credit there. I kind of reached a mentally low point in my career after Roland Garros, talking about 2016, Novak is. One of the 4 slams. I guess on this podcast he has to explain what Roland Garros is. I'd lost. I was up 2 sets to love. I just lost in 5 sets in quarterfinals against a guy called Jürgen Melzer. He was top 10 in the world, very good, but I had a match and I just lost. I had a breakdown. I remember going to my parents, says Djokovic, and talking about this and that, and I cried. Djokovic broke down and cried. I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know if I should keep going. And my father was like, toughen up, toughen up. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see. It's hard to imagine a guy like Novak Djokovic, who's done so much in this sport, to break down crying and say, I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if I can keep going on this tennis thing. So thought I would share that with you guys because it's just, guys and gals out there, because it's just, it's kind of shocking to see someone who's achieved so much, who was still, you know, he's still a top 10 guy, he's still doing well enough to feel like he had a chance. It's not as easy as we might think to hang in there, even when you've had so much success. So I thought that was interesting, and kind of makes you wonder how close was Djokovic really to quitting. And it's a good thing for Joker faces around the world that he didn't quit. Now, a little bit of not so good news that Djokovic is involved in. I have to point out Roger Federer, nowhere near this story, never would allow himself to be put in this kind of position. Rafa, he fell right into the trap. So of course, I believe it's on Christmas Day. It's in December sometime. There's going to be an exhibition match in Saudi Arabia. Of all things, they named it the King Salman Cup. Again, this happened before the King Salman's name was connected to the murder of a Saudi journalist in the Saudi embassy in Turkey. The story is that he was, I don't know if I can say this on my show, but I'll say he was sliced. I don't know. This is like my 5th time trying to say this. I don't know how to say this and put it safely on YouTube. I don't want to get my video flagged or something, but it happened. It's a real thing. Anyways, they got rid of mafia style. They got rid of a journalist. King Salman is attached to this. No one knows for sure if he ordered it. I think the story is saying that he had nothing to do with it. Of course, they would say that. He's linked to it. His name is on the trophy. Rafa and Djokovic will play for the trophy of the... Rafa and Joker will play for the trophy that has this guy's name on it. And this was from lastwordontennis.com. Djokovic and Nadal must speak up about the Saudi exhibition match, saying that they got to back out of it. They can't play. I don't know what to say about this story other than comment below, what do you think? You know, this article goes pretty far, saying that both men, Nadal and Djokovic, are massive supporters of the WTA and female players. They've stood for equal prize money for both genders. I thought Djokovic was involved in that little meeting that was against equal prize money back in Australia in January. I'm not sure. Comment below if I'm wrong or if you can back up that I am right, but that's how I remember it. It was back in January, but anyways, equal prize money for both genders, and help to make the women's tour more popular. Their help has been beneficial, but this is their chance to help solve a real problem. Instead of sitting back and waiting for the storm to pass by, they should be proactive, voice their opinion. People would certainly listen to Rafa and Joker, and it would allow many more people to hear about the issues in Saudi Arabia. Of course, Saudi Arabia only recently started allowing women to drive cars or vote in Saudi elections. Their politeness needs to stop now. Instead of saying how excited they are to travel there in December, they need to be honest. Joker, Nadal, big hearts, they must have heard of what has happened. They cannot remain silent. So comment below, what do you think? I have a hard time saying it's Nadal and Djokovic's job to get a Saudi Arabian government to treat women better. I mean, that just seems like a lot to put on a tennis player's plate. But I think they've done well enough. They don't need the money. I believe they're getting paid like a couple $1 million each. It's either 1, 2 million. It's a big number. But they have multiple millions, and surely they're going to be making many more multiple millions in the near future. So I think even from a selfish standpoint, and I'm sure they do care. I'm sure, they hear about what happened and they think it's horrible. But even if you look at it from a more selfish standpoint, just to preserve your own image, why, if you have a name like Rafa does or Joker does, why let that be damaged at all by this for $1 million? Because your name alone is going to make multiple millions for years to come. Again, I must point out, Roger Federer, nowhere near this story, never would be. He went with Japan. It's a lot safer bet. So comment below what you think. Do you expect them to pull out? I kind of think they will. Again, I don't think they need the money. It does more damage. I was excited to watch a match on Christmas Day. Beats the NBA. But I do think definitely reasonable to pull out of this, especially with all the controversy. But if it was about the women, weren't allowed to drive, now they can. If it was something about the women's rights issues in Saudi Arabia, that was still going on when they signed up for this. So clearly that's not enough. It's got to be because of this Khashoggi thing. So I will say, of course it's horrible, but then again, it's freaking Saudi Arabia. I think they still chop people's heads off in public. So you got to know what you're getting into when you're talking Saudi Arabia. So comment below, what do you think? Should they pull out of the tournament? Should they play the tournament? Do you care? Do you just want a good match to watch on Christmas Day? And you don't care about whatever they're doing in Saudi Arabia. You just want your tennis. Comment that. Comment if you want them to make a stand. Thanks for watching Coffee Break Tennis. We will see you after Roger plays his first match. We'll talk about all the tennis news. We'll catch you up on everything going on. Of course, Novak Djokovic not playing this week in Vienna or the Schweiz. So no moves happening with the Joker face. Of course, everything's on the table. He can get to number 1. Roger can't stop him. That's in a couple weeks. Don't forget to click down below. Get your free ticket to TennisCon. I gotta go. It's time for the roll call. See ya.